Welcome, you curious explorer, to another deep dive. And in the spirit of unity, we greet you in the love and light of the one infinite creator.
Hello, everyone. We know you're drawn here, wanting to understand those deeper patterns, maybe the underlying truths of existence.
Yeah, and that's exactly the journey we're on together today.
Indeed. Today, we've got, well, a really remarkable opportunity. We're diving into a pivotal moment in the law of one material, Session 3.
Session 3, often called the Law of Wisdom.
Yeah, that's the one. And it unfolds almost like a tapestry, insight after insight, revealed question by question.
So our aim today is to explore this dialogue positively, really looking for the core wisdom and how it might, well, enrich your understanding.
Exactly. So let's set the scene a little. The date is January 21st, 1981.
Okay.
This is the third time the questioner is connecting with Ra.
Rob being this social memory complex from the sixth density.
Correct. Think of it as a kind of collective consciousness operating at a very, very different level from ours.
Right. And the intention is clear. Seek knowledge and, importantly, share it. So with that context, let's jump into the very first question they asked.
Okay, so the questioner starts, quite logically, with the foundation, making sure the communication setup is right. They ask, did we correctly perform the ritual for starting the communication?
Which makes sense. You want to get the basics right, especially for something like this. It speaks to, intention and preparation.
Absolutely. And Ra's response gives immediate insight. They say the beginning account of purpose was acceptable.
Okay, so far so good.
But then there's this nuance. The placement of the balancing artifacts, the Bible, candle, incense. Ra says they should prioritize the instrument's head.
The instrument being Carla, the channel.
Exactly. To minimize distortion in the communication.
Mm.
It shows how even, subtle physical arrangements can impact the energy exchange.
Wow. So it's not just symbolic, the actual placement matters.
Precisely. It's about optimizing the channel. And Ra adds a caution. Anyone participating who isn't primarily motivated by serving others shouldn't be there.
Why is that?
Well, it emphasizes the energetic purity needed. Self-serving intentions could introduce interference, like static on a radio signal, basically.
That's a really powerful point. It sets the tone, doesn't it? Pure intention, creating this supportive environment.
Definitely. Which leads right into the next couple of brief questions, just about physically adjusting those artifacts.
Right, because Ra just told them the placement wasn't quite optimal.
So following that guidance, the questioner asks if they should move the Bible, candle, and incense. Ra says, yes, that's appropriate.
Okay.
Then after they make the changes, the questioner checks again, is this the proper position?
And Ra gives that super specific instruction about the incense, right?
Yeah, it needs to be perpendicular to the plane of 20 degrees north by northeast.
20 degrees north by northeast, that's incredibly precise. What's the thinking there?
Well, it suggests that these seemingly minor adjustments can have a significant impact on the energetic alignment of the whole setup.
Okay, so they fine-tune it.
They fine-tune it, ask if it's satisfactory now, and Ra confirms it's within acceptable limits. But then, importantly, Ra explains why these details matter. This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay. Question 4. The significance of the placement. Let's unpack that because it sounds like there's a lot going on.
There is. So the incense, Ra says, acts as an energizer to the instrument's physical body. It signifies humanity, connection to the physical.
Okay, so it's like grounding the spiritual communication in the physical realm.
Kind of, yeah. And what's fascinating is how Ra connects the physical with the mental and emotional. The wafted smoke, perceived from the same relative angle as the open Bible and lighted candle. That's key.
Why? What did the Bible and candle represent here?
They signify love light and light love. They offer the instrument a vision of, well, paradise and peace, mental and emotional balance. It's a holistic alignment.
It sounds like creating a kind of sensory harmony. The physical energy rising from the incense, the visual of the Bible and candle evoking peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Rad is explicit. This energizing moving from lower, the physical, to higher, the mental, emotional, helps balance the instrument and reduces fatigue.
That makes a lot of sense, addressing the whole person, physical, mental, emotional, to optimize the communication.
It really resonates with holistic well-being, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Ra even thanks the questioner for their concern, saying it helps the teach-learning process. It shows how interconnected everyone is in this.
Absolutely. So after all that, the final check-in, question 5.
Yeah, the questioner just asks, does it appear correctly aligned now?
And Ra's answer is interesting. I judge it within limits of acceptability.
Yeah, it feels very grounded. Not about absolute perfection, which might be impossible given our distortions, as Ra calls them, but about functional harmony, getting it good enough for the work.
Sufficient alignment is what matters. Which brings us to question 6, where the focus shifts quite dramatically.
It does. The questioner brings up the Great Pyramid's capstone and how the heavy blocks were moved.
But they preface it, right? Saying these questions are of no importance at all with respect to the law of one.
They do. Their reasoning is, well, maybe these topics are an easier way in for people reading this later. They're thinking about accessibility.
And they express gratitude and openness to suggestions. How does Rai respond to that?
Ra is quite direct. They say they won't suggest the questions, respecting the questioner's free will. It reinforces that principle. You have to ask what you want to know.
And Ra mentions their own limitations, too.
Yeah, that their social memory complex can't fully grasp the specific distortions or learning needs within our society. It's a reminder that even advanced consciousnesses don't know everything about every other level of experience.
But they still commit to answering what's asked.
Absolutely. They're teach learning honor responsibility. So they address the capstone question first, but again, they state this kind of data isn't primary.
Okay, so what do they say about the capstone?
They describe two. An original one designed by Ra's people, smaller, made of granite pieces, chosen for crystalline properties, and to create a sort of atmospheric flow, like a chimney.
A chimney in a pyramid. What for? We'll get to that, I guess.
We will. Then Rhea mentions a later replacement, after they'd left, made of more precious golden material.
Did that change the pyramid's function?
Apparently not its fundamental properties. Rhea attributes the change to a distortion, some people wanting to use the pyramid as a royal place, shifting its purpose.
Human desires creeping in again.
Seeing so? And then Rhea asks the questioner directly, do you wish to query further on this first question?
And they do. Question 7 is about that chimney idea.
Right. The questioner wants to know more about its function.
So what was its purpose?
Rhea explains it allowed a controlled but small circulation of atmosphere throughout the whole structure, using air ducts.
Air ducts. Wow.
Yeah, ensuring freshness without creating drafts or disturbances.
Yeah.
It points to some really sophisticated environmental engineering.
It's incredible detail. Not just a monument, but a carefully controlled environment. Okay, this leads us to question 8, which feels like a big one. How are the blocks moved?
Yes. This is where things get really mind-bending, challenging our normal physics. Ross starts by talking about the activity within all creation. Energy.
Energy isn't just inert stuff, then.
Not according to Ra. It's vast beyond our understanding. But crucially, it possesses intelligence, and it operates within a hierarchy.
Like our own mind-body-spirit complex.
Exactly that analogy. Just as we have interconnected aspects, Ra says each atom of rock has its own intelligent hierarchy.
Whoa. Okay, so how does that relate to moving the blocks?
The ability came from being able to, well, speak directly to that intelligence within the rock.
Speak to the rock.
Essentially, yes. Connecting the finite physical energy of the rock with the infinite power residing in, as Ra puts it, more well-tuned bodies, hewn, or even the rock's higher self.
So you make a connection, then make a request.
Precisely. Requesting the intelligence of infinite rockness to communicate with its physical vehicle. The desired splitting and moving was then done by displacing the rock's energy field from finity to infinity.
Displacing it to infinity, what does that even mean?
It sounds like shifting its state of being, moving it outside the normal constraints of physical law through cooperation with its inherent consciousness. It's presented as a cooperation with the Creator's infinite understanding dwelling within the rock.
And Ra says this explains things like action at a distance, stuff our science can't really explain yet.
That's the connection they make. It suggests this fundamental interconnectedness and intelligence in all matter.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This naturally makes the questioner think of something familiar, right? In question 9.
Yeah, the questioner immediately connects it to the saying about faith moving mountains. Asks if that's basically the same idea.
And is it?
Ra says it's approximately correct. But then they offer a really important clarification about the word faith.
What's the issue with faith?
Ra suggests that faith, often implying belief without understanding, can be a bit of a stumbling block, creating confusion between the path of infinite understanding and just, well, finite seeking.
So belief isn't quite the mechanism.
Not exactly.
Right.
Ra equates the concept behind that kind of faith, the effective part, with intelligent infinity. They suggest the term is more conceptually helpful, less prone to misunderstanding.
So it's about aligning with and understanding that intelligent, infinite energy, not just believing blindly.
That seems to be the key distinction, which leads the questioner to a logical deduction in question 10.
Right, they figure, okay, if you understand all this, if you're fully aligned with the law of one, could an individual build a pyramid just by, like, thinking it? Direct mental effort.
A reasonable question based on what was just said.
And the answer?
Ra refines the idea. They distinguish between individual power and the combined unified understanding of a societal memory complex, like Ra itself.
So an individual could do it, but
Only a completely purified individual, Ra says, could move a mountain alone. But for something like the Great Pyramid, it required the mass understanding, the combined power of a group working in unity.
so collective consciousness amplified. Even if individuals in the group aren't perfectly pure, together they can achieve these massive feats.
Exactly. And then Ra outlines this amazing progression of understanding, seeking, then learning the laws of love, then light, then the law of one, and even beyond that, the law of foreverness.
And Ra admits they're still on that journey too.
Incredibly humbly, yes. They say they're still seeking to become all that is and can't define what's beyond the dissolution of the unified self. It gives this sense of shared exploration, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so question 11 follows logically. Was the pyramid then built by the mutual action of many of your people?
And Ra confirms yes. The pyramids they thought built were constructed from thought forms created by their social memory complex.
Thought forms, so not physical rock initially.
Well, this leads to question 12. Then the rock was created by thought in place rather than moved. Is that correct?
And the answer is specific to the Great Pyramid.
Yes. Re clarifies. The Great Pyramid was built with everlasting rock, the thought form itself. But importantly, other pyramids used stone that was physically quarried and moved.
Okay, so the Great Pyramid is unique in that sense, built from pure thought manifest.
Which of course leads to question 13. What is everlasting rock? How is it different?
Yeah, define that.
Ray explains that a thought form is more regular, more stable in its energy pattern, its distortion, compared to rock formed through the usual, let's say, geological or even psychokinetic processes we might imagine. It's reality at a different vibrational level.
That's still pretty abstract.
It is. And Ra seems to sense that, offering to try and explain it in a more helpful way, which is quite considerate.
Yeah. The questioner then asks something much more grounded, perhaps trying to get a practical handle on this. Question 14. Why was the pyramid made of many blocks rather than the whole thing being created at once? If you can create from thought, why not make it one piece?
An excellent question. And Ra's answer points to a fundamental principle, the law of confusion,
Which is another name for
free will. Ra says their intention was to build an effective healing machine and initiation complex, but they deliberately chose to make it appear constructed from blocks.
why? To hide their power.
In a way, yes. To avoid the mystery being too easily penetrated. If it just appeared fully formed, it would seem like an impossible miracle. Ra says this was to prevent their people from being worshipped as miracle builders, which could infringe on humanity's free will and path of discovery.
So it appears to be made, not thought, out of respect for our learning process.
Exactly. It's a profound respect for the law of free will. Which brings us to question 15, linking healing and initiation.
Right. The questioner assumes the Great Pyramid is primarily for healing, but also for initiation, and asks if these are basically the same function.
And Ra confirms they are. They're part of one integrated complex of love, light, intent, and sharing.
How are they integrated?
Well, Ra explains that proper healing requires a purified, dedicated channel for the Creator's love light energy. And the process of becoming that purified, dedicated channel is initiation.
I see. You need the initiation to prepare yourself, mind, body, spirit, to be an effective healer, to serve in the Creator's work.
Precisely. The two are integral. You can't really separate them in this context.
Okay. So question 16 then delves into the pyramid shape itself. Does the classic pyramid shape play a key role in this initiation process?
Ra indicates this is a big topic, suggesting they'll just start it now and explore more later.
A little teaser.
A little. They mention two main functions related to initiation. First, the body. But crucially, Ra says the mind must be initiated before the body.
And they say that's often missed, a common distortion.
Yes. In our current cycle, real mind initiation involves discovering your true identity, character, personality, the deep stuff. Then comes body knowledge, understanding, and having detached control over bodily functions.
And the pyramid's first use in this.
Was going down into it. for sensory deprivation, allowing the body to symbolically die, Ra says, so a new life, a new understanding can begin.
Wow. Intense, symbolic death and rebirth.
Seems so. At this point, Ra senses the energy waning and asks if there are any essential final questions, indicating the session is ending soon.
And the questioner, always concerned for Carla, asks in 17 if they did anything wrong or could make her more comfortable.
It shows their care. Ra scans her and gives positive feedback that precautions helped, but offers one suggestion.
What's that?
Pay attention to her neck area. There's a distortion there, strength, weakness, imbalance.
Yeah.
Suggests more support, just a practical, caring detail.
Very practical. And the final question, 18, is also quite practical, isn't it? About the water.
Yes. The questioner asks about the water in the chalice placed behind Carla's head during the sessions. Should she drink that specific water, or does it matter?
And Radha's answer.
Is very definite. Only the water from the chalice is most beneficial.
Why only that water?
Because, Rafra says, the virgin material living in the chalice, its pure structure, accepts, retains, and responds to the love vibration activated by the group's shared beingness during the session.
So the intention and energy of the group literally charges the water, making it beneficial.
That's the idea. A beautiful image of how intention can imbue physical matter.
Amazing. And with that, Ra closes the session.
Yes, saying, I am Ra. I will now leave this group rejoicing in the power and peace of the one Creator. Adonai.
Wow. Session 3 really packs a punch, doesn't it? We covered so much, the meticulous setup, the idea of intelligent energy and everything, even rock.
The incredible power of thought, collective thought, in creation. And that deep link between healing and initiation. It's profound stuff.
That concept of everlasting rock thought made manifest really sticks with you. It speaks to this enduring potential of pure intention, pure thought to actually shape reality.
It really does. And, this whole session, this perspective from Rob on energy and consciousness being just fundamental to everything,
Yeah.
it really invites reflection.
How so?
Well, for everyone listening, how might truly, considering that perspective, shift your view of the world? What might change if you started seeing the intelligence, the potential consciousness, and everything around you?
That's definitely a provocative thought to end on, something to really mull over. Thank you for exploring that with us.
Thank you. It's been fascinating. Namaste. I am you and you are me.